Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another FIFA 13 tutorial. Now, today's tutorial is going to be focusing on how to break down defences in the final third, because about a month ago I uploaded a tutorial focusing on short passing, and what that was trying to do is teach you guys how to move the ball up the field, get the ball into a position where you can do some damage, and this tutorial is going to build on that. It's going to be focusing on all of these different ways and what I look for when I'm trying to break a defence down, and there's going to be a variety of different goals where I'm going to run through and show you what I was thinking and try and help you guys to break people down, because I've had a lot of messages saying, you know, I struggle to score goals, I'm world class or above, I can't get the ball out of my half and can't create anything. So this tutorial's all going to be about that, so let's get right onto it. Now, the first tip in this tutorial is going to be all about space, and space is the #1 commodity that you're looking for when you're on the attack, because every single pass you make has to be with the eventual objective of getting a shot at goal or trying to exploit a chance, and the easiest way to do that is to find space on the pitch. And whatever I do, whenever I'm attacking, I'm not looking really at the opposition defenders, I'm looking at the space in behind, and this tip is a really good example of that. Now, as you can see with the image paused here, Mario Götze has the ball for me in the right hand channel, and you can immediately see that's caused the fullback to push up and get into my face and left a big space in behind. Now, in that short passing tutorial I showed you some passing tips to get in behind, but I didn't really show you how to manipulate the defence, and that's what I'm going to be talking about here. And what I mean by manipulating the defence is using your play and your passing and your players' runs to pull the defenders out of position to enable you to exploit a chance. Now, in this example here, my eventual receiver of the ball in behind the defence is the right back at the bottom of the screen. But as you can see, Mario Götze is on the ball here at the moment. He's got a player in front of him, there's a player inside, there's a player behind him, and he hasn't really got too much space to go. And the last thing you want to do at this point is to try and run around the fullback, because Götze doesn't have electric pace. He's not going to be able to outpace a decent paced midfielder or fullback. But what he does have is incredible technical ability. So you don't want to be going around the outside, because your fullback has the best chance of getting in behind the defence. So what you want to do is check inside, because what that'll do is draw those players who are nearest to the ball to you into the field and give that fullback all of that space to run into. If you run wide, you clutter the pitch at this point, you bring the defenders towards the space, the centre-backs will shift across, cover it more, and you'll have less of a chance to exploit it. If you cut inside, that'll encourage the midfielders to come to the middle of the park and give you much more chance to get the ball in behind. And as the clip rolls forward here, you can see exactly what happens. I roll in field with a little bit of skill, and that draws all of the midfielders to me. So all I have to do is play one short pass, and all of a sudden I've got a nice easy ball over the top into miles of space. And just by choosing the right option midfield, by turning in field there, you draw everyone to the ball, and you leave your right fullback in acres, because no one's watching him. They're all drawn to the ball, leaving your guy miles down the wing. And as you can see here, all I have to do at this point is just put a nice easy ball into the middle. Near post header, this goes in 99 times out of 100. Unfortunately, the keeper tips it onto the bar. Great save. But I have follow-up players in position to get that head on target and get the goal. And this is just a really easy tip of how to manipulate midfielders and what to look for. You've always got to focus on the space and the best player to exploit it. In this case, it was the right fullback. And to give him the best chance to do that, you've got to bring those players that have the best chance of cutting him out into the middle of the park, out of his way, to give him all of that space to run into, and it creates a goal. And that's only one tiny little bit of play, pulled the defence out, and you got a very easy run, very easy cross, and the header was on target and in all the time. Fortunately, keeper tips it onto the bar, my guy followed it in, nice and easy goal. So that's tip one. Let's move on to the second. Now, this second tip builds on what we've learned in the first tip about really focusing on exploiting space and manipulating the defenders to give your guys the best chance of doing that, and applies it to a counter-attack scenario, because counter-attacks are just the most brilliant way of scoring, because half of the work's been done for you. a lot of the opposition players are going to be out of position because they're pushing forward for the attack. They're not going to be in a set defensive position, and you've got a lot more space to exploit. And as you can see here, this is a good example of this. I've got 2 enemy players in my area. I've got 3 more about 25 yards out. And I only think there's one opposition player in his own half at this stage, so you've got a lot of space to exploit in behind that. And if you have a look here, the goal scorer, the eventual goal scorer, is highlighted, and he's Jakub Blaszczykowski, and he's a nice pacey winger. I think he's got 90 pace. And when you're trying to set up a counter-attack, it's all about the speed of your movement and the speed of your passing. You don't want to spend too much time on the ball. You want to move the ball quickly before your opponent can get set up. And as I run the clip forward here, you can begin to see this happen. As I've played this one simple pass out of defence, my attacking midfielder drops back to pick the ball up. And as you can see already, there's lots of space all around me. But what I want to do is get Jakub Blaszczykowski in, and he's running at the top of the screen now. And I've played one simple ball again into space to Robert Lewandowski, but as the clip pauses here, you can see that he's taken this ball on the half turn. He's not really in the prime position to exploit the gap in behind. However, Jakub Blaszczykowski's on a forward run at this stage. He's already at top speed. And like I explained earlier, he's a very, very quick winger. So what you want to do in this situation to keep the speed of your break up is pass straight away. Because if you sit there with Lewandowski, if he's turning around, it's going to take him a couple of metres to get up to top speed. That might give the fullback enough time to get back in position, put the tackle in, and the move can break down. So what you want to do here is just keep it really, really simple. Don't try and do too much with Lewandowski. Just pass the ball through like I did here. And Blaszczykowski is quick enough to run in behind and finish very, very nicely into the bottom corner. And counter-attacks are the key example of how to exploit space quickly, because your opponent is completely disorganised. You need to move that ball quickly to exploit that. And if you've got players who are good on the ball, it doesn't matter if they're not particularly quick, because I knocked the ball around very, very fast there, much faster than people can run, and then all it needs is that one good run in behind. But if Jakub Blaszczykowski wasn't the fastest, I had a guy free on the right wing I could spray it to and keep the move going. So it's all about finding that space quickly, seeing what pass you want to make, and making that choice early and trying to get him in behind. There's no place for dithering on a counter-attack. It is much better to make the wrong decision quickly than it is to take too long to make the right one, because if you hit a pass and you go, oh, there was a guy inside, I should have played it there, it doesn't matter, because that guy you've played the ball to is also going to be in space. You can keep the attack going. If you go, what am I going to do, and give your opponent 5 or 6 seconds to get those players back, they're really going to be set up again and you would have lost the opportunity. So make that decision early, get the pass out as fast as possible like I did, and you can get in behind quickly and score good goals. So let's move on to the third tip. Now the third tip I'm going to show you in this tutorial focuses on what to do when the back four is a little bit better lined up, because every now and again you're going to come into a player or run into a situation where you're not just going to be able to simply rip a team apart, and their back four is going to be in a very solid line and you're going to have to play in front of them. And this is a good example of this, and you saw me pick up the ball with Mario Götze in lots of space in front of the back four, because what that forces your opponent to do is close you down. And when you close a guy down with a defender, you inevitably leave space in behind you. So if that back four's solid and set up, what you're looking to do instead is just lay the ball into a midfielder who can run at that back four and try and mix it up a bit, because everything you're trying to do is going towards moving that defender out of position, so you can slot a guy in or you can get a shot off towards goal. And I go for the second option here, and the reason for this is, as you can see from the still image here, I could slot the ball in behind here, but there isn't too much space. It would have to be a very, very precise pass. It would have to be pretty much inch perfect, because if I hit it too hard, the keeper's got it, and if I don't get the line wrong, there's enough players around me to get a foot in, bobble it away and try and clear. But I'm advancing towards goal at this stage, and I've already powered up to shoot. And the reason for this is, you can have a look and see that whilst the players are around me and in position to make an interception if I try the pass, they're not really right in my face. And this little 3 or 4 yard pocket of space is all you need to get a shot off towards goal. And in this sort of situation, it's much more valuable to get that shot towards target, especially if you've got some talented players like Mario Götze, because as you saw there, I just stuffed the ball in the top corner. But as this move runs through again, and I show it you in slow motion, this is a really good example of being able to make decisions quickly. When I pick the ball up here, I'm in a lot of space, but I'm not too sure whether I can actually turn it into a good pass. So what I do is decide early to shoot and put that ball towards target, and it ends up flying in. Because what I always like to live by, whenever I get into the, say, the last third of the pitch, I don't want to leave that last third without trying a shot on target. You know, I want to either put the ball into the box and get a header, I want to slot a guy through, you know, behind the back four and try and get him to get an easy finish. But if I can't do either of those things, I will want to take a shot. Because there's nothing worse than spending 30, 40, 50 passes, knocking it around the final third, only to lose the ball and to concede on the counter-attack. That is pointless. You're wasting time. Keeping the ball for the sake of keeping the ball is something you do at the end of the game to time waste. When you're looking to try and tear a back four apart, you've got to have every pass with a meaning and with an objective. And you might just be knocking it around to try and see what happens. That's fine, but don't just aimlessly pass it. Try and nudge it around, try and pull these players out of position, and if it doesn't work, get a shot off, because as you can see here, it flies into the top corner more often than not. But even if he does save it, it will go up for a corner, or it will bobble back into the penalty area, and you can try and pick up the scraps. You know, you've got to keep yourself moving forward, and you know, it's exactly the same with a rugby example or American football. They always say if you get into the 22 in rugby or the red zone in American football, you need to come out with points. And I use that thing in football. If you get into the last third of the pitch, you want to try and leave with a shot. There's absolutely no point in spending 15 minutes knocking it around, doing absolutely nothing. Go in there with a plan, try and experiment, and if the defence isn't lined up for how you want it, get the shot off, recycle, start again. So guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. There's been 3 examples here of just how I go about using space and what I look for with the defence to determine how I'm going to attack. Now, I really hope you've enjoyed all these tips, because I've had a lot of requests from people out there saying I struggle to break defences down, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't really have a plan of action. So hopefully this tutorial will address that. And if you're one of those people who have been struggling and have requested a video like this, I hope you've really got something out of it, because it gives you 3 tips just showing you 3 different ways to break down the defence. But at the same time, there's always that one common denominator in these chances, and that is space. You've got to identify that space early, and then when you're in it, you can decide what to do. But the last thing to do is knock it around aimlessly, just pootling it around just to try and boost your possession stat. No, you've got to try and get in there, quickly analyse that defence to see their weakness and act on it. So guys, once again, thank you so much for watching the tutorial. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, it would make a big difference to me and the channel if you could rate the video, because that helps more people find it and enjoy it. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.